Hey guys, Danny Miller here from Punchin Weight. Just thought I'd do a little how-to video on hooking up my Miller Punchin weights and give you guys a couple of tips. I like to start off with 65-pound Power Pro. It's a real good stout line, braid. It's not going to break on you. You're going to be able to horse some pretty good fish with that. Cuts the weeds good, gets in the toolies, really helps you get that fish out when he goes back underneath the stuff. So highly recommend the Power Pro. I will use a bobber stopper. They pick up a little bit of snot, some grass and stuff, moss on them, but sometimes it's worth it to have it. Eagle Claw makes them. It's an 8 to 12 size is what I use, and that seems to fit the 65-pound Power Pro really well. So that's the one that I use for that. It comes with a little wire installation tool in there. You just slip it on your line and pull it, and it slides right up it real easy. So I do recommend that occasionally. Slide that guy on, goes right up your line real nice and easy. Give yourself plenty of line so you can work your weight. Starting the top of it, come right out the side, just like that. This one happens to be, this Miller Punchin weight happens to be a 1.5. It's a nice good size for fishing most of the mats and grasses. As far as a hook, I like the Owner 7/0 hook. This is an oversized hook, model 5110171, and that is a really long shank hook. The reason I like a long shank hook is when it comes through the mat, and this hook hangs down below that weight and gives that fish a lot more area of the hook to get a hold of him. And so I highly recommend that you guys go with a nice long shank hook on that. Don't be going with a short shank hook because it doesn't stick down in that mat good. And as far as the knot goes, I like to use a Palomar knot, and most of you guys know how to tie it. It's a very strong knot. Give yourself plenty of line to tie that knot so you got some room. One little thing I do, you just go around it, drop through it, and drop through it again. Twice. Reason is that makes that knot a lot stronger. Pull everything down. A lot of guys wet that knot. I don't think it's necessary. But I pull it down there good and snug, get all the loops out of it. And then I take this little tag end here. And what I do is I just tie a little square knot in this. And the reason that I tie that square knot is after I fish this during the day, 15-20 minutes, each time I'll take a look at that little knot. And all it is a little gauge. And if that little knot gets any closer to my main knot, I'll know that my line is slipping, and you don't want that. So make sure you tie that little guy on there. It really helps to kind of give you a visual of what's going on. Okay, as far as the baits, I like using a Sweet Beaver. It fits this hook really good. Most guys have a little bit of tendency to use too small of a hook with this bait. It's a very hard bait. So when that fish bites that, he's got to really get into that to get that hook in him. So I recommend using a nice long shank like this hook, Owner hook. All I do, get that bait about 1/4 to 3/8 of an inch, just like that. Slide that guy right up on there. You notice how it slips on that, and then it has a little bit of a down that holds it. So what it does when it holds it down like that, it keeps that bait on there. You're going to be able to fish it a lot longer. You're going to be able to drag it in and out of weeds and stuff without it coming off and you having to hook something up here to get it to stay on. Don't have to use a toothpick, don't have to use a wire weed guard, anything like that. It's not necessary. You can fish with that bait all day like that. Get it way in the back, come out, give it just a little bit of a skin hook. So what I've done here is this hook and this weight and everything is about that wide. Well, so is this weight. This makes the perfect hole for this to go through. If this weight was half this size, say like a little bitty guy, it's not going to follow it near as well in your mats and grasses. So try to get a weight that matches the size of that bait. After I get everything all set up down here, that's about how it looks like that. I'll slide this bobber stopper right on down. Say you're going to fish a weed mat that's probably on the delta, call it delta cheese, whatever. Say it's about 3 or 4 inches thick. So I'll put this bobber stopper at about 6 inches. And the reason that I do is because when this sets out here on your mat and you go ahead and you lift your Miller Punchin weight up and it does that point and makes that guy slide right down in there like it's supposed to, sometimes these little appendages right here can get hung up on something. Take a brush hog, he can hang up really good. And he'll get hung up. I like fishing them, but they hang up a lot. So I'll put a little smelly jelly, something like that on there. Maybe take these 2 arms, cut these appendages off to make that bait fish a little bit easier. Gets it started, so to speak. But those little guys right there hang up a lot. But when this bait hangs down below that mat, these things really move around. Fish like that. So I try to fish a brush hog when I can. But this is really the bait of choice for the Delta fisherman. And when this goes down through that mat, and if these get hung up, say your weight comes on down and when it hits this rubber, it's going to stop. Otherwise, if you didn't have it, it would slide clear to the bottom. So what it does is you just shake this a little bit and it'll jerk that right in. It'll free up that tail and that'll come right down there with it. That's the only reason that I use the bobber stopper. So I hope those tips help you out, guys. I like using a bigger bait, catches a bigger fish. Maybe it'll catch you one too. Have fun. We'll see you on the water.